If you have an overhanging eyelid, then you will find it extremely helpful to see in this video possible solutions to this problem in just a few quick steps. So let's start with the eyebrows. If you make your eyebrows unnatural or heavy, pressing on your eyelids, then visually you will lower your eyelids even further. So we focus on their rare areas. Tint them and do it as naturally as possible. I also try not to let the end of the eyebrow go down so as not to make the look heavier. Remember that it must be natural. I use a Vivienne Sable eyebrow marker, but more often I use a pencil from Vivienne Sable. They're stable and easy to blend out. I can also recommend these pencils. Our next step will be to apply concealer to the upper and lower eyelids. But before that, I recommend moisturizing the skin, for example, with eye cream or a cream with a light texture. At this stage, instead of concealer, you can apply a moisture-resistant eyeshadow base to the upper eyelid or go over this area with tone. This is exactly what I do. When applying the tone, I work on the area of the upper eyelid. I usually don't use one tone, but mix it. Now, in the fast recording, you can see how I work at this stage. I don't have any clear sequence. I just try to do everything evenly and neatly. For the lower eyelid, it is better to use loose reflective textures, but in each case it will be individual. It all depends on your skin type and hydration. However, a thick concealer emphasizes wrinkles and folds more. I also don't recommend using too light colors because it can visually age you. The color of the concealer can be tone on tone or a tone lighter. I do not recommend applying concealer close to the area of folds and wrinkles, trying to make it invisible. I apply concealer, moving away from the crease of the lower eyelid, and go there when there is a minimal amount of product left on the brush or beauty blender. As you'll see how I bring the concealer to the crease of the eyelid, also applying it at a distance from the crease and stretching it with short movements to the crease. The most important thing to remember is that our goal here is to distribute the concealer evenly throughout the skin. And thanks to this, we will reduce the number of wrinkles. I really like a B-color medium weight concealer, but I don't like super nude makeup, so this density suits me. If you love light nude makeup, you can consider what is currently on the screen. These are also fairly budget-friendly concealer options with a good reflective texture. If you apply too much heavy concealer and in large quantities, you can get this result. Next, I move on to the shadows. I apply cream shadows in a thin layer and make sure to blend them quickly and evenly, because if you don't have time to distribute them, then everything else will appear in spots. I use NYX's eyeshadows. Shadows help protect the texture in the crease of the eyelid and prevent makeup from creasing. To consolidate the result, you can use powder with reflective particles. This will additionally reflect the color also inside the wrinkles. Just take it and apply it, taking a small amount onto the brush and applying a layer with sanding movements. I use this powder for this. It is for the eyes that I like to use light shades. The next step I move to is the under eyebrow area. I immediately add highlighter there. You can also do it with powder. Visually, I'm dividing the outer edge area into parts. You can now see it on the screen. And in the very top part, I apply finely dispersed highlighter or powder if it has shining particles. After this, subsequent products will be easily and beautifully blended in, and I will not apply anything else to this area. I do this on any eyelid, not just the newest one, and the result is a beautiful glare. Next, here we darken the fold above the natural line of the eyelid and thereby visually lift it. For this I use a barrel brush, simply because it is difficult to work on a specific area with a large brush. With gentle stroking movements, I pick up the shadows onto the brush. I leave the excess shadows on my hand and apply them evenly. This way I can avoid dirt and stains on the skin. I use a stretching motion towards the temple. The next step will be relevant for those who have drooping eyelids in the center of the eye. You can take the emphasis away from the flowing inner corner by drawing a line from the lash row to the center. You can do this with a beige pencil. The main thing here is not to lighten it too much, but to use calm shades of beige. For example, this pencil. Our next step will be the arrow. An optional step can be used to work out the inter-eyelash space. This way you can add depth and brightness to the eye and create a generally uniform arrow. But in this case, I have eyelash extensions, so I skip the step. If you do this, then you need to work the interlash space between the eyelashes without entering the mucous membrane. Now let's get down to the arrows. There are also two options here that can help you hide the problems of the newest century. The first and most popular is to draw an arrow going around the fold. I use gel eyeliner and a brush for this. That is, we extend the eyelash row. Then draw a small horizontal line, and from this point we go towards the temple. Stepping back a little from the tip of the arrow so that it remains thin, we connect it to the eyelid. If you do everything carefully and precisely, then this method can be really useful for you. On some eyes it can make your makeup heavier. By the way, you can clean the arrow lines with this beige pencil. Now I'm doing just that and also lightly shading the edge of the beige pencil. If you have already used this technique and it did not suit you, you can try to ignore the fold. In this case, we do not draw the eyelash row to the end. Leave a couple of millimeters, and from this point we draw an arrow, completely ignoring the fold. After all the manipulations, the fold is no longer noticeable, which means we draw right on top of it. Next, we close our eyes and a diamond forms, we paint it over. Now I'm fading the border again and I end up with an arrow like this. In the end, if you do not have eyelash extensions, you can paint over your eyelashes with mascara, and if necessary, use a curler. In this case, we simply visually hide the drooping eyelid a little. I use Cabaret Latex Mascara. You can also use thermal mascara, which will be even more stable and will not end up on the lower eyelashes. With these few steps you can hide a drooping eyelid, and this is all I use in everyday makeup.